I've been to talk at animation, to animation people, and also I've been in some forums with gaming people in Finland, but this is the first time that it's actually dedicated for kids and games and content at the same time, so I'm pretty happy about this event being here, so thank you, Fox and Sheep. So, can I have everybody's hands up if you have kids? Or if you know a kid, somebody with a kid. Hands up? Okay, good. And out of those kids, which one of them, put your hands up if any of them are good at laughing. Good. So, because Gigglebug is also very good at laughing. Gigglebug is about apps and stories that make you giggle. My background is in kids animation. I think I started doing kids animation about 10 years ago. And then in 2007, I started my first animation studio with Jonas. And we're based in Helsinki. We're right now, last year, we're like 12 people. And we're doing service work, working for brands, working for clients, likes of Disney, doing character development, them giving us scripts and asking us to make striking designs that will convey emotions and so forth. And then working for brands like Siemens, doing brand films and service work as such. And at the same time, we were always wanting to develop our own IP. And then about 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, Jonas walks into the studio, we're working on some advertising project, and he opens the door and he says, I've got this idea, could we do something based on the fact that laughter is contagious? And he had been playing around with the iPad with his kid, and saying that there's not so much good quality stuff that he could find that, what if we did this tickling thing? It could be called like a ticklish peanut. And then I thought, there's something really, really universally appealing about that idea of catching the giggles. That because my favorite moments in life is when you're kind of lose track of space and time and you just are laughing and you're really present in that moment. And that happens when you're with your friends and you're at dinner or you're at a funeral and you can't, or whatever, in a classroom and you just catch the giggles and you can't stop. That is incredibly fun and universal. So I wanted to start exploring that. But we didn't want to do a tickling app that's going to be like the fart app, which is a fun gimmick and then it dies. Because our background was in animation. We wanted to definitely look at okay, so there's characters there that you tickle. Why do they get grumpy and why do they laugh? What are they like? So that it would have depth and longevity. So we pitched this idea of these initial characters to the national broadcaster in Finland, and they kind of got excited about it, and that set us off on this journey. And then we founded Gigglebug Entertainment last year. So the Gigglebug IP is now 11 months old officially. If you live outside of Finland, you probably have not seen that much of Gigglebug. Everybody in Finland pretty much knows it. But I'll play you a trailer of what Gigglebug is about. It's about 2 minutes long.
Keep smiling. I'm sure we'll figure something out.
TV series that we ever produced, and it aired last summer for the first time in Finland. And we were super thrilled about the fact that we got better ratings than brands like Peppa Pig. So we were onto something, and it was a good initial step for us. So then we started thinking about strategy. Where do we really want to grow with this company? So the topic of my talk could also be from talking about how to go from a producer to an entrepreneur, because that's what I'll be, I think, covering mostly. So how we want to establish Gigglebug is with combining agile app development thinking with long-term brand vision that really has longevity for Gigglebug. And then after that, obviously branch into other platforms as well and new IP. But before getting ahead of ourselves, I sort of want to explain how an indie producer thinks. What's our background? Why do we think like this? And what's the new opportunity that we can grasp at this very moment? So if you think about studios like ours, we're not massive. We're not the size of Mind Candy. We're not Disney yet. We look like this, and we're good at storytelling, characters, and animation. And we've had challenges always with financing and distribution and marketing. So if we talk about distribution to begin with, traditionally, before the App Store was there, the target would be, let's pitch our new IP to Disney and Nickelodeon, CBeebies, and Cartoon Network. CBeebies gets 1,000 pitches for new IPs every year, and 4 of them get commissioned, and usually 4 of them are out of the UK. So it's 0.4% chance that you can go somewhere with your new idea. It's really a big bottleneck. And I've worked with 23 different kids properties. I just did this, counting up all of these things, and I've been involved with lots and lots of IPs that have not necessarily then gone into production. It takes a lot of work to develop all those Bibles and scripts and demos and pilots and so forth. But then, obviously, we're in the midst of this disruption of the market, and we have a new distribution channel, which are the app stores. But I think it's. I can be honest enough to say that I don't think most kids' apps make a lot of money, and they certainly don't monetize through the roof like Clash of Clans or adults games do, where you have in-app purchases. Sure, you can be profitable and you can make a good business, but you're not going to be going through the roof like some of those properties would. But even if this is true, the distribution bottleneck has been opened by the fact that you can get it out through those channels. So if you think about what our big competitors are doing, even on the App Store, if we have Nickelodeon, Viacom, and Turner behind Cartoon Network and so forth, they're all competing against each other to get the best ratings. And that means that when they launch new brands, they have to be curated so that they have wide appeal, so they reach as many common denominators for kids as possible. So if we think about the brands that indies can distribute through the App Store, we're not competing against each other for ratings, we're competing for the end audience, which means that we can actually own segments if we take a category that we want to own. We don't have to appeal to everybody. We can try and do something very specific and be even better than the big players in that. And then those segments can grow. So I think it's a happy time for us independents because there's a new way to distribute and get your IPs out there. So if we think about financing, it's in the animation industry at least, there's been a lot of whining and moaning about the fact that it's a broken business model, that there's not enough subsidies and the networks are not paying enough, they're cutting their budgets all the time, we can't finance TV productions anymore. But I think that it's actually a bigger business model. It's not broken at all, it's just a bigger business model that we have to think about. Because if the end goal is the fact that you want to make a lovable brand, that's profitable. Peppa Pig makes $230 million per year in licensing, and Dora the Explorer makes $700 million in licensing. And in the past, if those global big brands were built by the big companies, Dora the Explorer or Ben 10 by Cartoon Network, now those brands can be built here. So the potential for growth through that market is humongous. If we can also learn from the things that the big players have done right in developing traditional entertainment properties, the fact is that we can actually launch them through our own channel now. So, in my opinion, how do you build a sustainable brand in the kids app space? I think you should have a long-term strategy and commitment. And I think that with smaller resources, you can take smaller tactical steps that you can measure that are you onto a sticky brand or not. So, you can substitute your own IP here for Gigglebug to think about, the kind of mindset that we have. I think that the launch opportunities, and those are the brand values that you should pretty much think about when you're working with your brand. I mean, the blue box could say apps or app store right now, but I put tech there because I think this slide is going to be irrelevant even in 5 years when we don't know if app store is the primary distribution platform anymore. But there's going to be new platforms, new devices where there's going to be new content needed, where the market is not mature. And as we see, this is the first conference like this, so it's not we're young here. It's not a mature market. You can really enter that space. But the fact that you are doing story at the same time and competing on that front means that you have an ability to last with your brand if you succeed with your launch in the blue area. Obviously, the brand life cycle is then the goal after that. But none of this hypothetical stuff, in my opinion, is possible unless you have a rich story. So, and I think that's really key to our strategy for how we're doing Gigglebug. That it really started with the creative potential of the first idea coming about, and then us saying, hold on, let's not make the first tickling app. Let's work on the story. And we worked on it for 3 years, and we're still working on writing more of it. And it's not automatic, but yeah, it's kind of at the core of what I think you need to have that potential. So with Gigglebug, we have this story universe of the green gown forest with all kinds of funny little creatures, and we have our main character that we want to be as likable and relatable as possible, aspirational Gigglebug, who was born with one of those amazing laughs that everybody just can't help but catch, and he just sees the good in every situation. If he sees a wet boot, he's like, let's go underwater hiking. So he always sees an idea where somebody else might not. And that's like his slogan, keep on smiling, I'm sure we'll figure something out. And then all of his friends, they all have their individual hang-ups and hidden talents like kids might have that kind of inhibit them from applying themselves. And then Gigglebug's laughter unlocks their countries together. So I'm not going to go through all the characters, but here's just an example of Barry the Bear, for example. He's like a preschool Woody Allen worrying about the outcomes of what if this happens. And even when they're laughing, he's, what if we have too much fun and we can't stop? And he's laughing. And so on. It goes on, and there's a lot of that goes into building the story universe. So my analysis of what are long-lasting characters, no matter on what platform they're launched on, through the app world or through TV, I think a long-lasting character is visually distinct. It's emotionally relatable, so that you can empathize with them, because that generates story. And it's simple, but it's hard to do something simple. So if we think about Gigglebug and the journey and where we are right now, I think we're sort of at the stage of having a minimum viable product. We've got our story universe, and we have our small format of TV, and we have our first app, which has performed well in Finland and China as well. So what are our next steps? We're going step by step to try to grow the company. So we're going to localize Gigglebug for a few more markets, and I mean Apple really encouraged that, and then we've been commissioned for the next TV series, which we're going to start producing in November, and then deliver in end of 2015, start of 2016. But for the German audience, I would like to play a little clip of the localized Gigglebug here, because I have a voice clip and it's quite fresh, so I think it's fun. So maybe the voice is on.
Bitte, du musst mit Kicherkäfer mitmachen. Kitzel sie und bring sie zum Lachen.
What does it sound like? And I have another clip because I think this is even funnier because I don't understand any Chinese, but we work with a dubbing agency on this. I'll play this as well.
小熊巴里浑身湿透透，眉头紧锁直发愁。振作点儿，我们再出发。笑笑小虫从不说废话，笑笑小虫要个妙招，帮朋友们找回欢笑。
So a lot of people here have been talking about doing stuff without language. I think it's good to do that because then you can get global much more easily. But since we come from the TV background, we sort of understand the importance of language also for preschool. It's a richness that parents appreciate very much. So we've gone through the effort of localizing one of our apps so that it actually has very rich narration like this, and we hope that'll appeal in those markets. This is also fresh, so I'll share this with you. We just test launched our second app in Finland 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't last too long that you're number one in the App Store, but we worked for a while, so we still are actually, so we're happy about that. It's our second app is a memory game and a music making game. And I will play the trailer, which isn't finished at the moment, but so it's going, it's only the second week that it's out, but it's working quite nicely how the two apps are feeding into each other. Real figures. Merch asked us to share some real figures when we come up here and not just promote ourselves. So I thought I would, but I think it's quite embarrassing sometimes to talk about real figures because they can be really shit if it's embarrassing. But in our case, I think the numbers that I have from Finland sort of give me belief that there's potential for us to expand with this. So we're using Finland as a test market to just measure and try to improve our product. And the number of kids in Finland is 240,000. The TV show has done really well. We have, a great viewer number for that, and about 25,000 for each episode. And we have 23,000 downloads for the first Gigglebug tickling app in Finland on iOS only. So if you think that not all of those kids have devices at home, it's a pretty good percentage of downloads. But if you think about 23,000, it's actually a really small number. So it's, when you go to a big conference and say how many downloads you have, it's kind of embarrassing to say that, that's how many we have. But we're using Finland as a test market to try to see how can we then multiply this into other places. So we had a research agency help us look at what's the potential if we look at the industrial countries where the App Store is working. So then if we use that ratio and we're able to use the similar steps in other countries, then you could say that would be a good amount of downloads for a single app. So I think it's important that when you're looking at your retention numbers and your download numbers that you, try to make sense of them. Our business model is to first acquire audience, then to retain the audience, then extend to more markets, and then to leverage the brand. That's what the Gigglebug brand roadmap looks like. The orange ones are things that we have in place. The ones that are gray mean that we're still looking for partners and money and so forth. Hopefully we can make all of this happen. So having gone through that, there's a business model there. So that's why I crossed off financing. I'm not saying that we're funded until the end of the earth. We're still, we only see so many months forward, and yes, we need more money. But there's a business model. It's not a dead end. There's a way to aim for where you want to go. So you can look for venture capital. You can look for subsidies. There's a business plan there. So then you think about the challenge in marketing. I would say that you want to be very focused with your branding, and with Gigglebug, we just want to focus on apps that make you giggle. Contagious laughter, we just talk about that and focus on a simple message like that. This is the message that we want to send out with our brand. And I think everybody should look at that with their own brand. What is the one simple thing that, like Bubba was talking about, doing art. I don't remember the exact sentence, but when it was up there, I felt like, okay, that's a very clearly defined thing that you're doing with your brand. You're doing art tools for kids. And also in our case, the fact that giggles are vital to early development. So that kind of branding and focus informs our design principles when we're looking at new products. When we think about the new apps that we want to put out, we look at real world play of children. What makes kids laugh in the real world, like tickling, or what are other games that are evergreen, and how can we interpret those from mobile devices? It should always share laughter and make you feel happy. Have a positive educational reward. Characters are always in the center. And then this is really important, this last point, is we want to always think about what can the device do. We're not just gluing our stuff onto the iPad. What is native to the iPad? How do kids interact with it? I think it's important to think about. Then also a word on the monetization model. I believe in the free and premium model, which I don't know if I made that up myself. I came to we're doing the free and premium, but it's because I think that in the store, when in the regular department store, when you're going around with your parents and what are they picking off the shelf? They're taking stuff that they trust. That's what they buy. So what we have to do on the App Store is the same thing. We have to earn their trust first, and we want to design the highest quality apps, and if possible, give them away for free so that the brand earns its trust. And then develop traffic between several apps within the same brand. And then we offer new apps with premium pricing. Heaven, look, sorted. We're small, we have to partner. These kinds of events are good. We need always more resources than we actually have. There are more opportunities than we can grasp. So this culture of partnering is very important. And it doesn't matter if it's our main broadcaster who's commissioning the TV series, or if it's a sound guy who comes in and wants to work with us and wants to get like a revenue share on doing, a score for a new app. It's really cool that you can team up like that. And in a way, we can grow the franchise faster when we can actually team up with developer X who says, hey, you have this really cool idea. I love giggling. I want to do this too. We can partner for a revenue share of doing a new Gigglebug app. It's the IP owners or the producer's job to coordinate that it's a win-win for all the parties in that case. And for that to happen, because it's quite a complicated amount of partners, is you have to have a lot of transparency. You just say what are the nuts and bolts of what you're doing, and there's no reason to lie about any of it. And then obviously the passion of the opportunity that is present, it's kind of infectious also. So when there's a culture of partnering, it's also infectious for the community, I think. And given all the ups and downs that I've gone through and explained how there are opportunities and challenges, in the end of the day, I think it's a really happy business to be in, because we're making stuff for kids, and we get feedback like this.
Delicious dragonfly distracts her. Her tongue shoots out and sticks to the frozen hole. Pull harder! Gigglebug cries.
very much.